First, I want to introduce this idea to you, the technate. And the technate is very simple. It's the idea that, you know what? Yes, the world is going into chaos. The world is collapsing. But North America is self-sufficient. Right? So these past few months, Donald Trump has picking a fight with Denmark over Greenland, right? He's been threatening Canada. He's been threatening Mexico. He's been threatening Colombia. He's thinking over Venezuela. He's been threatening Cuba. He's been threatening Honduras, Nicaragua. Why is he doing this? Because they're all part of the grand vision for Greater North America. Okay, what Peter Hegseth calls Greater North America. The technate. All right? And this is a response to Moscow's Third Rome. If Moscow is going to build this grand alliance in order to weather the storm, then America has no choice but to also build this grand alliance as well in order to protect itself in this coming storm. All right? So what Donald Trump has recognized is that Putin is right. The world is collapsing. There's nothing we can do to save the world. So let's just accelerate it in a way that allows America to benefit from this collapse. Okay? So by collapsing the GCC, by collapsing the Middle East, you make Asia and Europe now dependent on North American energy and fertilizer exports.
And what if you woke up tomorrow and the Middle East stopped exporting oil? Not reduced, not disrupted, completely gone. No shipments from Saudi Arabia, no tankers leaving the Gulf, no pipelines from Iraq, no exports from the UAE or Kuwait, just silence. How long before your life changes? Not years, not months, days. Within 48 hours, fuel prices begin to spike. Within a week, airlines cut routes. Within 2 weeks, food prices start creeping up. And within a month, entire economies begin to feel pressure. Because oil isn't just fuel, it's transportation, it's agriculture, it's manufacturing, it's the invisible force behind modern life. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. The world is not prepared for that kind of shock. Right now, a massive portion of global oil exports comes from one region, the Middle East. It acts like a stabilizer, a pressure valve. When demand rises, supply flows. When markets panic, production adjusts. Remove that system, and the balance collapses. Think about how fragile this system already is. A single drone strike on a facility has caused price spikes in the past. A temporary shipping disruption has rattled global markets. Now imagine multiple countries, major exporters, going offline at once. This is not a slow decline. This is a sudden vacuum. And here's the question almost nobody is asking. If the Middle East disappears from the oil map, who replaces it? Because demand doesn't disappear. Europe still needs energy to heat homes and power industries. Asia still needs fuel to sustain manufacturing and transport. Global agriculture still depends on fertilizers that require energy to produce. The machine keeps running, but the fuel supply collapses. And that's where the map changes. Because when you look at global oil capacity, real, scalable, immediate capacity, you start to see something very few people talk about. There aren't many alternatives. Russia? Already constrained, politically, economically, and logistically. Africa? Resource-rich, but infrastructure limited. Offshore projects? Too slow, too expensive, too late. So where does the world turn? To the only 3 places that can realistically carry the burden. The United States, Canada, Venezuela. 3 countries. That's it. Now pause for a second. Think about what that means. It means global energy, something that powers billions of lives, suddenly depends on a very small number of suppliers. And when supply concentrates, power concentrates. This is where things get interesting. The United States becomes the central pillar. Its shale industry can ramp up production faster than most. It has technology, it has capital, it has infrastructure. But even the US has limits. Shale wells decline quickly. Production increases require investment, time, and political stability. You can't just flip a switch and double output overnight. Then there's Canada. Massive reserves, oil sands that could supply the world for decades. But extraction is expensive, processing is complex, transport is constrained. It's not a rapid response solution. And finally, Venezuela, a country sitting on some of the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, yet crippled by years of economic collapse, sanctions, and failing infrastructure. But here's the twist. In a global crisis, constraints disappear. Sanctions can be lifted, deals can be made overnight if survival is on the line. So suddenly, a country that was sidelined becomes central. Now the world is forced into a new reality, a reality where energy flows through a narrow channel. And when that happens, everything changes. Prices don't just rise, they surge, not gradually, but violently. Oil doesn't go to $100. It doesn't stop at $150. It pushes into levels that force governments to act. And when governments act under pressure, they don't always act predictably. Strategic reserves get released, emergency policies get implemented, alliances shift, negotiations accelerate, and sometimes tensions rise. Because energy is not just an economic asset, it's a strategic weapon. Now here's something even more critical.
Modern economies are not built for disruption. They're built for efficiency. Supply chains are optimized, not protected. Inventories are minimized, not stockpiled. Systems are designed for normal conditions, not extreme ones. So when a shock hits, the system doesn't bend, it breaks. And that brings us to the turning point. Because what we're really talking about isn't just an oil crisis. We're talking about a global power shift. And in the next chapter, we're going to break down exactly how that shift unfolds, who gains, who loses, and what it means for your future. Because this isn't just about nations, it's about you. Now, imagine the world 6 months after Middle East oil disappears. Not in theory, in reality. Prices have stabilized, but at a much higher level. Energy is no longer cheap. It's strategic, it's controlled, it's negotiated, and the center of gravity has shifted. North America is no longer just a major supplier, it is the supplier. The United States leads, but it's no longer operating in a comfortable position. It's under pressure, from allies, from markets, from internal demand. Canada becomes critical, not optional. Its resources are now part of a larger global equation, and Venezuela becomes the wild card. Deals that seemed impossible a year ago suddenly become inevitable. Political barriers weaken, economic interests take priority. Because when survival is on the line, ideology bends. Now, here's where history gives us a clue. Every major global shift has been tied to control over a key resource. Coal powered empires, oil shaped the 20th century, and energy continues to define power today. But when control becomes concentrated, competition intensifies. Countries that depend on imports, Europe, parts of Asia, face a difficult reality. They are no longer negotiating from strength. They are negotiating from necessity. And necessity changes behavior. Trade agreements become urgent, diplomatic strategies shift, military presence in key regions increases, not always for conflict, but for security of supply. Shipping routes become strategic assets, pipelines become political tools, and suddenly geography matters more than ever. Now let's talk about outcomes. In the best-case scenario, the world adapts. Production increases in North America, infrastructure expands, alternative energy sources accelerate. Over time, the system stabilizes. But even in that scenario, the balance of power is permanently altered. In the worst-case scenario, adaptation is slow, supply gaps remain, prices stay high, economies begin to contract. And when economies contract, pressure builds. Businesses close, jobs disappear, governments face unrest. History has shown this pattern before. Energy shocks in the past have triggered recessions. Recessions have triggered instability, and instability has led to deeper crises. Now, consider the most likely outcome. Not total collapse, not smooth adaptation, but prolonged instability. A world constantly adjusting, constantly reacting, never fully stable. And in that kind of environment, uncertainty becomes the new normal. Now, bring this down to your level. What does this mean for you personally? It means your cost of living becomes tied to global events in a way it never has before. It means decisions made thousands of miles away by governments, by corporations, start impacting your daily life directly. Fuel costs, food prices, job markets, investment opportunities, everything becomes more sensitive. But here's the part most people miss. In every crisis, there are shifts, and in every shift, there are opportunities. Industries connected to energy expand. Infrastructure development accelerates. New technologies gain traction. At the same time, inefficient systems struggle. High-cost operations fail. Weak economies face pressure. So while the system as a whole experiences stress, parts of it evolve. And those who understand the shift early position themselves differently. That's the real advantage. Not predicting the exact outcome, but understanding the direction. Because once you see the pattern, you stop reacting and start preparing. Now, step back and look at the full picture. A single region disappears from the oil map. The world doesn't stop. It reorganizes. Power shifts, alliances change, priorities reset. And the countries that control what remains gain influence far beyond economics. They gain leverage, and leverage in the world of geopolitics is everything. So here's the final question. If the global energy map changes overnight, are you watching it happen or understanding what it means? Because the next era won't be defined by who has the most resources. It will be defined by who controls them and who adapts fast enough to the new reality. And in a world where only a few hold the keys to energy, everyone else is forced to follow.